Welcome everyone. Thank you for braving the rain. Welcome aboard the newest addition to the Miller Bolyard family, the Marianne Market. We want to thank everyone for coming and braving Ohio's unpredictable weather. It's put in May, so hopefully it stays away from us. I know both of my grandparents, Bill and Marianne, are looking down at our community and smiling. They may also be giggling a little bit that they made everyone come out in this unpredictable Ohio weather. But on behalf of my family and the Miller Bolyard, we want to welcome everyone. And your programs, I would like to introduce Allie, and she's going to be singing America the Beautiful, and we'd like everyone to sing along with her, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Kate. What a beautiful day for this, right? Oh, beautiful, for spacious skies, for amber waves of rain, for purple mountains' majesty, above the rooted plains. America, America, God shed His grace on thee, and crown thy good with brotherhood from sea to shining sea.
Welcome, everybody. Thank you for gathering today to celebrate our island community and the christening of the Marianne Market. Two things swirl in my head today. One, it takes a very good sport to either be an island resident and or own a business on an island. And two, it's a perfect day for a christening. Let's talk a little bit about Mom. Marianne DeVore was born and reared on North Bass Island, which is also known as Isle St. George. And she grew up alongside her parents and her older brothers, Howard and Ralph, as well as her younger brother, Jack, and about 50 other year-round residents of North Bass Island. She had attended a one-room schoolhouse, and she learned at a very early age how to run a household, take care of her younger brother, Jack, and work alongside her parents and her brothers in the family-owned vineyards. The DeVore family moved to the Big Island, Put-in-Bay, when Mom was about 13. It was a matter of time before the blue-eyed teenager with a megawatt smile caught the attention of another young fellow on Put-in-Bay by the name of Bill Market. And they were married in 1954, and they chose to make Put-in-Bay their lifelong home. Mom inherited a strong sense of self-sufficiency. Her energy went into her husband, Bill, her 3 children, and community work. Her work ethic led her to side job opportunities. She sold Avon products, and in the 1960s, Skip Duncan came to my mother with a novel idea. Marianne, how about if you rent bicycles out of your driveway, out of our house on Bayview Ave? Mom jumped at the opportunity, and my first job was launched running bikes, and to this day I have kabumacophobia. And for those of you who don't know that, I have a severe fear of the explosion of bicycle tires. Later on, Mom clerked alongside Barb Heineman and Postmaster Nello Bianchi at the post office. Now, you can start to see where the generational ties bind us all together. Midlife Mom hit her stride. While Dad was working long hours at the boat line, Mom channeled herself into Altar Guild and vestry with St. Paul's Episcopal Church. She traveled with her dear women friends, and she landed a spot among the Owls, which was her beloved Island Book Club. She sat and presided on boards for the March of Dimes, the Lake Erie Islands Historic Society, and the Perry Group. Along with other key driving force islanders and residents, these organizations helped create the Perry's Memorial Visitor Center, the annual Historic Weekend Celebration, and the return of the Brig Niagara. Mom made sure that every year the Toledo Symphony Orchestra performed their free concert on the grounds of the memorial. Sometimes I'd pop over to my folks' house for lunch, but just Dad would be home. I'd say, "Where's Mom?" And Dad would shake his head, throw his arm up in the air and say, "I don't know. She just took out of here like a tornado off of one of her board meetings." And that was my dad's way of saying that he was very proud of his wife. Let's circle back to my mom's zest for life. She was able to maintain her energy when some 28 years ago her health became compromised. Mom and our family was given the most precious gift when my brother Billy gave his mother one of his kidneys. And it must have been a very good kidney because it lasted her a lifetime. When the Market grandchildren began to come along about 30 years ago, Mom and Dad's world opened up to new joys, laughter, and gatherings. And I want you guys to know today that your Grandpa Market and your Grandma Market would be so very proud of you. Mom was our anchor, and as we came to know, she had a backbone of invisible steel. She loved her island home with a passion, and she never let us kids forget where we come from. Today, let's celebrate the gifts of love from our mothers and from our grandmothers, and let's celebrate one another and the good fortune of all of us being able to land here in this place. And on behalf of the Market family, thank you so much for coming today for the christening of the Marianne Market. Thank you.
Well, I was doing all right until about the kidney. I've done a lot of good in my life. I've done some bad, but the kidney thing is definitely my biggest bad issue. Welcome. I've got to find my right page. Welcome. Thank you for joining us today. This is a very special day for our family. I first want to thank my family, my dedicated, faithful wife and kids, my brother, my sister, my nieces, my nephews, and my grandkids. Without your support, it would be hard to do what we have been able to accomplish. But I also want to thank the entire staff and crew at Miller Boat Line. Every single one of you that work for us, you are also our family. And I try to treat everybody like that. When you need to be scolded, I will. When you need to be rewarded, I will. Right, Liam? I want to single out two individuals that were instrumental in the construction of this vessel. Not just myself and our family, but these two gentlemen have learned the two P words, as I call it: perseverance and patience over the construction of this vessel. And that is my nephew, Jacob, and my chief engineer, fleet captain, David Bianchi. So they both. Julene expanded on my mom, so I'm going to expand on Dad a little bit. Okay. Dad started working for the boat line in 1947. He was a senior in high school here. He told the story that he would walk home, and of course they lived right out next to Press House Joe's, and then he would walk down here to catch the South Shore and be the stern linesman for Lee Miller on the last trip of the night. So that's how Dad started out. He worked construction after that. Shortly after high school, within a year or two after that, Lee Miller came up and offered my dad a position, a full-time job. My dad thought about it, and the thought of working 7 days a week, and all the hours, he turned it down. Okay? Well, it wasn't very shortly after that where he decided he made a big mistake. He went up to Lee, said, Lee, is that position still open? Lee goes, nope, filled it a couple days ago. My dad said he's never been so heartbroken and discouraged in his life. Went home, talked to his mom and dad about it. The next day, there was a knock at the door. It was Lee Miller. And he asked probably my grandpa and grandma's young Bill home. And they said, yes. Bill, you still interested in that job? That dad said, yes. He goes, be downtown at 7 o'clock tomorrow morning. So that's how Dad started full-time with the boat line. My dad deckhanded it for several years, and it was during this time he started courting a blue-eyed blonde. And there was a little controversy about that because Dad was about 5 years older, and here was a 22-year-old or 23-year-old courting an 18-year-old. They married in 1954. My dad took over the captain aboard the William M. Miller, and that lasted until 1970. In 1970, Lee and Marianne decided they were going to make my dad general manager. That was something that happened in the fall. That winter, Lee Miller passed away due to a heart attack. So my dad got thrown into it both feet first, as I call it, into the fire. Now, I mentioned before that my dad was hesitant about taking a job because it was 7 days a week for like 3 months, 4 months straight. There was no such thing as a day off. Now, I don't know whether this is a coincidence or not, but Dad finally got a day off in September. Julene, Scott, and I were all born in June. Might be a coincidence, but you worked the hours out of the family. In 1972, Mary Miller, after Lee's passing, decided she was going to she wanted to sell the boat line, and she offered my dad. My dad loves telling the story that, man, I don't know if we can do this. He had he remember specifically telling me he had $1,800 in his savings account. He had a $400 a month mortgage on the house down here. He was raising 3 kids. He didn't think he could do it. And if it wasn't for my mother being the backbone and the supporter that she was and saying, Bill, yes, we can. We're going to make this work. We are going to do this. My dad probably wouldn't have done this. If it wasn't for my mom, we probably wouldn't be in this position right here. So Mom was that backbone. She was this Dad's biggest supporter of how he progressed into the boat line. Like Julene said, Mom worked many side jobs to make ends meet. Dad worked side jobs. I remember going out, he delivered fuel oil for Bob Ladd. We'd go out and pump fuel oil. He worked also catching fish. He also worked Bob Ladd ice guide fishing in the wintertime to make ends meet. We knew Dad had a good day of fishing. Sometimes we had steak for dinner. That would be a good night. Dad caught 30 pounds of perch. Another side story, after they bought the boat line, and there's some of you here that are going to remember this, it was the Jimmy Carter years. Dad loved telling the story. He was paying 2 percentage points above prime. Prime was 18.5%. He was paying 20.5% right after they got into the boat line. Mom and Dad always said how fortunate and blessed they were to be born and raised in this island, and how well the islands treated them. They both lived fairly simple lives. They weren't extravagant. They weren't flashy. But they loved giving back as much as they felt like was given to them from this island. Mom was the center of the universe. Our universe, the kids, my dad's. Not only them, but just all through our adult lives. She was the glue that held things together. She was our rudder when we got off course. She was my dad's biggest supporter as well as all of his kids. She was the rock that supported us through the rough times. She was our everything. She was our captain. Today we have the opportunity to honor my mother by naming this vessel after her. The Marianne Market is now the flagship of the Miller Boat Line fleet, and continue that for many, many years until we decide to build another one, Jim? The Marianne is now going to continue service to these islands and the people who live here, just like my mom did for so many years on servicing the island, the people here. So, at this time, I want to introduce Larry Fletcher, who is the president of Shores and Islands, Ohio.
What an outstanding history that we just had, and two very special people. You know, I love my family very much, but some days, especially after hearing those kind of stories, I want to be a Market. And today's one of those days. And I really appreciate the Market family inviting me to take part in today, to join with their family and all of you on this very special occasion. Not just to christen a boat, but to honor and remember that boat's namesake. You know, I'm not a boat owner, but I grew up along the lake, and my dad and I were on boats a lot. And of course, in my job here in Shores and Islands, I'm around boats all the time. But I never really knew the history of christening and what, how long has this been done? And so I did a little bit of research. Thousands of years, it goes back several thousand years. Nearly every seagoing culture has some version of this ceremony. And also naming a boat. That also goes back thousands of years. And originally, boats were named after a god or in later times a saint. And that was, hopefully, for protection. So that god or that saint would provide protection to the occupants and to that boat from danger on the high seas. And in more modern times, maybe some people still name their boats after gods or saints, but in most cases that's as a nod to a hobby or maybe the home port or some profession, and not so much the gods and the saints, but still you will see boats named after people to honor. Of course, today we're here to honor a beloved family member and dear friends of so many people on this island and off. And we heard Julene and Billy talk about their parents, and I think we're going to hear Jake talk a little bit about this boat. And while this boat is just incredibly impressive for the fleet that serves the visitors to this area, it offers a new standard in comfort and amenities. But as everyone in the Market family and everyone gathered here knows, this is much more than just a motor vessel that will take people to and from their island destinations. Our marketing efforts at Shores and Islands are focused on how our destination and the various activities that people can enjoy here make people feel, the memories that can be created. And that is the same philosophy and the same way of life for the Market family and the Miller Ferry employees in how people feel when they ride their boats. For visitors to Put in Bay and Little Bass Island, the boat ride is a big part of the island experience. For many of them, it could be the first time that they've ever seen Lake Erie, the first time that they've ever been to one of these islands, the first time they've ever been on a ferry boat. And for many people, it's the first time they've been on any kind of boat, and now they're going to get the opportunity to ride on the Marianne Market. The William Market, Put in Bay, South Bass, Islander, and now the Marianne Market not only can get you to and from your island destinations, but these are also important components of building lasting memories. If you look at Miller Ferry's TripAdvisor ratings, you will find the majority of them being 5 stars, the top that you can get, and the posts frequently mention the friendliness and attentiveness of the crew, the quality of the overall experience. But often the posts go further and talk about this concept of memory building. So I'll just read 2. One was titled Great Detour. We decided at the last minute to take the ferry over to the island before going to Cedar Point. The ferry is very efficient and timely. I've seen bus services that ran less efficiently. And not, of course, here on the island, I'm sure. Chip, if you're in your island. The water was a little choppy, but that's not Miller's fault. Now, when you could do something about that, through, then we'll really be on to something. A calming ride with a lovely view to a beautiful island. Another one said, this ferry is the best. Wish it went everywhere. It does both cars and people. For some reason, there is just a little bit of magic when riding across. There were about 100 posts from the past couple of years, and on every one I saw, someone named Caitlin B. had responded to that post, thanking the person for riding on Miller Ferry and welcoming them back. We know that the Market family, with their staff team and their boat crews, this attention to customer service and helping the guests on their boats build memories is not just good business. It's a way of life for them, both on and off the clock, and both on and off this boat. If you look at their company's blogs and social posts, the newsletters, the powerful website, other forms of advertising, all these in some way will promote not only these islands, but the attractions and the events, other things people can see and do here. In fact, other things people can see and do in other parts of the Shores and Islands region. Many Market family members and Miller employees invest their time and talent on various boards, various committees, both on the island and off. And investments like this beautiful boat, in some way, provide benefit not only to the islands that this boat will serve, but to the entire Shores and Islands area. Steward is a term with a nautical origin, which essentially refers to one who serves the needs of others. The Market family and the team at Miller Ferry are true stewards. On September 2nd of this year, I saw a Facebook post on Billy Market's page. I mean, who in the world hasn't seen a Facebook post? And to me, it gets to this concept of how this boat is much more than just a boat, just much more than a way to get from place to place. It gets to this concept of memory building. The post had a photo of a baby in a car carrier and a picture of Billy holding, as I read the post, I now know was his new granddaughter. And it read, Baby Riley's trip home to Put-in-Bay on Great Grandma Market, with Captain Jake Market at the helm. Now that's a memory. Just one of thousands upon thousands that are made each year as people travel across this lake to and from their island destination. And now, if they're lucky, they're going to get a chance to make that trip on the Marianne Market. May she have fair seas in all the days ahead. And now it's my pleasure to introduce I believe I'm introducing the president of the Ferry Group, Dave Zavagno, for a brief presentation.
Good afternoon. My name's Dave Zavagno. I'm president of the Ferry Group, and I inherited Marianne Market's position on the Ferry Group board. Okay. Dave, I'd like you to thank Billy and Julene and make this announcement for me. During the month of July 2023, all back and forth transits on the Marianne Market will be at no charge. Whoever thinks that she's not paying attention. Okay. 209 years ago, Oliver Hazard Ferry and 557 brave men set sail from this very harbor and defeated the British Navy just east of West Sister Island. This epic victory was so important to America, a national monument was built here to mark this day in history. We can never take for granted the importance of this day, the importance of this outcome, and what it means to each and every one of us. With victory comes responsibility. No family has been more supportive of the history, the people, and countless charitable causes as the Market family has been for decades. From Boss Bill to Marianne to Billy, Julene, and Scott, we have a family of love, support, and most importantly, action for so many of us here at Put-in-Bay. As many of you recall, during the Battle of the Bicentennial, the Battle of Lake Erie, it was declared the best event ever on Lake Erie. Help leading the way during the epic weekend was the Market family, whose financial and service support was instrumental in the weekend's great success. Who will ever forget alumnus Billy pulling into the harbor with the Ohio State Marching Band on board? Talk about somebody ready to fly. I don't think Billy's feet have hit the ground yet. 2023 marks the 210th anniversary of the Battle of Lake Erie. Needless to say, the U.S. Navy, the Perry Group, and many others are gearing up for Bicen 10. Therefore, on behalf of the commemoration team from the U.S. Navy and the Perry Group, we present to the Market family and the Marianne Market the first official colors to be flown on this vessel. In closing, anyone will tell you there is only one way to the bay. And I'd like to present Billy, Scott, Julene, if you come up here, with a commemorative shirt. Oh, quick advertisement before I close. Buy your tickets for 2023. Thank you.
A couple of years ago, a friend came to my brother Scott and said, hey, I have a song in mind about the Marianne Market. Cool. And then a couple of months ago, he sent us the song. And it was a quick and easy, wonderful decision that our family said, we must have Alex perform this at the christening. So welcome to songwriter, poet, and friend, Alex Bevan.
Wow, thanks. The morning sun is rising up along the East Kiln dock. This sleepy town is waking up. Life's good here on the rock. The cars and trucks are lining up a perfect summer morning. Happy travelers start to cheer. We hear the ferry horn, and when you hear through the phone, you know the Marianne Market's headed home. You can sing that. The Marianne Market's headed home. The Islander, the Williams, South Bass and Put-in-Bay. Her brothers and her sisters ride beside her every day. Yeah, we're gonna have a good time like Pat Daly say. Come here to the sunshine, come back to Puddin' Bay. And when you hear that engine coming through the foam, you know the Marianne, sing it. Is headed home, headed home, sing it. Headed home, headed home, headed home, headed home, headed home, headed home, headed home. See the bow begin to slow and the men who throw the lines. Lake Erie's got a special glow and now it's island time. Lake Erie's got a sparkle and the big ramp lowers down. And your feet hit land in grand. Then you ramble into town. And when you hear the engines working through the foam, you know the Marianne, the Marianne Market's headed home. Marianne Market's headed home.
That's a tough act to follow, huh? I've got a little speech here somewhere. I've been working on it for about 2 months. I wrote it about an hour ago. Good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon. What'd you think of that sun came out right when he said Marianne? That was pretty cool. When I first started to think about what I was going to say up here, it was going to be about why we built the Marianne. I decided to go a different direction because that's what I usually do. I want to say a little bit about the generations, specifically our next generation that's coming into this business. You know, they say if you have a third generation walking into a family business, it's more or less a miracle. Well, I have to say it's beautiful. And the pride that we have, it's just through the roof. Give me a second here. We as a family, we live and breathe Miller Boat Line day and night. It runs in our veins. There's no question about it. That's how I was brought in with my mom and dad. And that's how we continue to make it go. For Julene, Billy, and I see the next generation slowly taking the helm. And it's a dream come true. But at this time, I'm going to ask my son, Jacob, to come on up here. Now this kid, he knows every weld seam, every nut and bolt, every electrical connection, you name on this vessel. Him and our chief engineer, David Bianchi, they know this boat inside and out. And that's exactly what we want. And it's just perfect. There's a couple quotes I want to add here in the end that I want to say to the next generation. A capable and committed next generation is the most important legacy of a business, especially a family business that they can have. Where true worth, success, and happiness can only be achieved by balancing our business life with the duty we have ourselves and to our family and friends. And with this, I'll give you my son, Jacob Market, to speak about this vessel. It's beautiful.
Thank you all.
I wrote my notes on hotel stationery from the Chippewa Hotel on Mackinac Island. Found that in my desk. I think that was from a PVA conference some years ago, about 2018. And we were into designing the boat. In the summer of 2017, David and I were on our way to the lime kiln freight office. Okay. You hold my hand and help me? All right. You've never seen it before. This is special. I got my nice watch and my epaulets on. You know, something big going on, you know? So, summer 2017, David and I were on our way through the lime kiln freight office, getting on our shift. To do what we call the short route between the South Pass and Catawba. And Billy and Dad were out there, and we're all sort of sitting there looking out at the traffic, looking at what was going on, and said, you know, I think we need to build another boat. And that's how it started. And we started the design process and then found a shipyard to build the boat. And between all that, I can't tell you how many hundreds of decisions that were to be made on a weekly basis. And we're going to have the boat open for tours after the ceremony's over. And you'll notice downstairs, there's 3 main engines down there. And I just want to share a little story of how that happened, because it's a little, well, as Dad says, it's cool. We knew we wanted a bow thruster on this boat. The motor vessel put in bay, which has been a great workhorse for us over the years, and especially after we lengthened her in 2010, right when my grandmother Marianne passed away. Sorry. But the bow's a little slippery on that boat. So we knew if we were going to build another 140-foot boat, we wanted a bow thruster to help control the bow of the boat. Well, all right, well, how are you going to power that bow thruster, the architects asked. And we're like, well, we could put in 2 great big generators and put an electric bow thruster in. I won't worry about all the technical details, but that means we have to run these enormous engines down there, even when we're just using the normal, what we call a hotel load, this normal electricity load on the boat. All right, we're not going to do that. So I guess it's up to hydraulics. All right, well, we need to power the hydraulics or something. All right, well, now it looks like we have a 3rd engine down there, but it's going to be small, just enough to power the thruster, because we didn't want an engine up in the bow. We wanted it back in the engine room. All right, so it is. We have a 3rd engine. Well, if we already have to add a 3rd engine, and we've already got these 2 C-18s down there, which are the same as the other boats, why don't we just go up a little bit in size and put a 3rd C-18 in? All right. Well, if you're going to put this 3rd C-18 in there, what if we put a shaft behind it and help us get the speed this boat really needs for those, what we call a sprint? For those days when you're running as fast as you can, like the concert, or the holiday Monday, or Tuesday when you've got purveyors coming in from town, but you got to get everybody off the island after the holiday Monday. So all these things, we considered all of them. Well, we don't want to use the 3rd shaft all the time. Okay, well, so sometimes we'll be able to shut the center engine off. Well, what about all the drag from that propeller? Well, let's put in a feathering controlled pitch propeller. Okay, so that's how we ended up with this arrangement we have. We have 2 fixed pitch propellers behind our outboard engines, and we have a controlled pitch propeller which will feather out, and the blades won't drag when we don't need it. And David and I are very happy to explain anything more in detail should you have any questions. What you'll notice about this boat is we can get more passengers upstairs. You know, the Boy Scout weekend, it seems like every Sunday at Boy Scout weekend, it rains. Or it's choppy out, and those Boy Scouts just get soaked on the way back over on Sunday morning. Well, let's give them more space upstairs, so we did that. Downstairs, all the way back to 2005, my late grandmother wanted a space downstairs for the elderly island folks and people that can't make it up the steps to sit, and she got it. We wanted more speed, which I talked about, but the biggest thing was we wanted this boat to be quiet, and we made it happen. But because of that, there are no live hydraulics above the main deck, which means there's no ship's wheel anymore. So you go up in the pilot house and you're going to notice there's something missing. This boat is everything we had hoped for. We had some issues getting her here. I'm not going to dwell on those because we're looking forward, and this boat turned out to be everything we wanted. Absolutely everything we wanted. She's quiet. She holds people well. She gets the cars on and off the island. She gets the trucks on and off the island. Folks can sit downstairs without having to go up. It's everything I could have asked for. But I didn't do it alone, and I want to thank some people. Leah, I don't know if you could come up and help since you're... My brother Jordan had to leave. He's in officers training for the Army Reserve, and he had to catch a 3 o'clock boat, or else he was going to be AWOL. You can't hear me now because he's on his way out to the lime kiln, but I want to thank him for making the effort to be here and get his weekend pass. I want to thank my kids, Marianne and Arthur, for all the times I wasn't able to... All the times I wasn't able to come to bed. My mom and Tom, and Renee's family for helping us with the kids when I was gone, and my boat family. They kept paying the bills, and they gave David and I their support and trust, and they let us spend their money. Thanks a lot for coming. I want to thank my wonderful wife. I need to find her. Well, hopefully she didn't leave. I thank my wife and her ardent support and everything she's done in our house and in our family while I've been gone and entrenched in the process. And we have a bouquet of flowers for her. Okay, she'll be right back. We'll get her flowers. I want to thank Debbie Bianchi for doing the same thing for David and all of your sacrifices. We have some flowers for you. A few other people I want to thank. I want to thank Rich Ellison from Washington Island Ferry Line, Steve Propsom, and from Sturgeon Bay, who's a retired Bay Shipbuilding project manager. Mark Pudlow, who was the architect that helped us a lot with the modifications to the boat. And I want to thank Finn Cantieri, Bay Shipbuilding. All of those people helped us get the boat we wanted, and they deserve a round of applause. But most of all, even more than my wife, if she's not here, that's good. I want to thank David Bianchi. Words cannot explain how much this man's done for me. And he's been a mentor. He was the captain of my crew before I became involved in this project. Between him and Dad, they taught me everything I know about the boats. And it's been a hell of a ride these last 5 years. It's fun. For David, we have a bell, a replica of that on board. And she's cast out of the original builder's plaque. With that, I'll turn the microphone over to David. Thank you all for being here.
maintain my composure here and avoid any John Boehner moments. So I guess I'm going to go with my notes. First thing is, can everybody see me? Because normally I'm invisible. There's one piece of business I want to get out of the way first thing. I know some of you will be disappointed, and that's that I am not retiring. Today. So, thank you for the beautiful gift and the kind words. I'm kind of an uncomfortable speaker, if you haven't noticed already. In the words of Lonesome George, have you ever felt like the whole world is a tuxedo and you're a pair of brown shoes? Maybe a little dated reference. So I asked to have an opportunity to speak, and I have 3 thank yous. Is basically what I want to do. So this is a beautiful boat named after a beautiful soul, and I want to talk to you about soul. And the soul of this boat, there's a lot of my heart and soul put into this boat. And where that comes from is my knowledge and experience comes from the people that I've worked with here over the years. And I'm going to name a few names of people that were here when I started and are no longer with us. But my experience and knowledge comes from their experience and knowledge, which comes from their predecessors' experience and knowledge, and hopefully the people here now and myself are passing that along to the newer people, newer employees, and you know, Miller Boat Line is like a big family, like a big dysfunctional family. So I'm going to name a few names here. Hopefully nobody is offended if I leave somebody out. But the guys that were here when I started, of course, there's my parents and Bill and Marianne, who were huge influence. Clarence Crowe. He taught me more than you can imagine. And then there were the boat crews. There was Bob Schmidt ran a boat when I was here. Bill Kent worked in maintenance and groundskeeping. Dick Sweeney, Bruce Duggan, Wordy, Gino, Mo John, Ben Parker, and of course Kurt more recently was one of my favorite deckhands and upcoming captain. But I want their loved ones to know that their souls will live on in this beautiful. And I also want to say thanks and a tip of the hat to all the boat crews, the dock crews, the ticket people who are there working today, out there keeping the boats going back and forth, and can't be here today. There's been 5 christenings since I started working here, and this is the first one I've made it to. So the second thank you is the Market family, Miller Boat Line and the Market family. Now there's like family, which is me, and then there's family. And the actual family, I started here a few years after Marianne and Bill bought the business, and they have been, the job that they did expanding and modernizing and progressing this business is just, it's incredible. You know, there was all different boats when I started, And it's amazing. And all the while they were doing this and bringing their family into the business, they were leaders in our community in community service. And so I want to thank them. I want to thank the Miller Boat Line and the Market family for allowing me to share in their success. And finally, here's my lovely wife. Almost done, folks. I couldn't ask for somebody more supportive. All my time away from home on this project, and so just a little history. The first time I saw her, I knew that was like 50 years ago. We have spent such a long time together that it just seems like I can't remember a time before. And you know, as a young married couple, when I started here, you kind of live in the moment, and time goes by. And back then, I never could have imagined that one day I would be sleeping with a 65-year-old. Anyway, she's wonderful. I'm very blessed to have her in my life, and she's very special. She always can find something positive to say, no matter what the situation. And in fact, we were getting ready to come here today, and I was looking in the mirror. I never imagined I would end up looking like this 30 years ago. I was looking in the mirror, and I said, you know, hon, I look in the mirror, and I see a fat, bald, old man. And in keeping with her nature of always saying something positive, she quickly replied, well, sounds to me like your eyesight's damn near perfect. She also says that my sense of humor doesn't appeal to most people. So let me conclude by saying that if you liked or enjoyed my remarks here today, well, I skipped over one thing, and that's the next generation of the boat line. And Jake, I got lost in my notes here, but I couldn't have asked for anybody better to work with than Jake. He can I can say anything to him, and he's extremely resilient. He looks at stuff and he absorbs it all. Just unbelievable aptitude for this stuff. And I guess one of the best things about it is that he can take what I say and pass it along to whoever it's intended for, and make it a lot more palatable for them to receive it. So, Jay, I love you, man. And so, finally, now, in conclusion, I just want to say that if I better read this, because otherwise I won't get it quite right. Okay. So, The opinions expressed here are not necessarily those of Miller Boat Line family. If you liked or enjoyed my remarks here today, feel free to comment on the Miller Boat Line Facebook page. And if you didn't, please feel free to keep it to yourself.
Thank you, everybody. We're ready for the benediction, the blessing, and we're very pleased to welcome Mother Mary Staley, who will be doing the blessing today. Thank you.
There's a great hymn that goes, I sing a song of the saints of God. It talks about how we are all saints of God. But indeed, as was mentioned earlier, Marianne Market was indeed a saint here on this island, and we appreciate all that she did throughout her life in support of St. Paul's and the community. I would ask you, I'm going to reach a point in this prayer, and I need your help. So every time I say bless this ship, I would like you to be the echo, a very loud echo, so that we can all say this blessing together. So like they say in kindergarten, repeat after me. So when I say bless this ship, I want you all to respond, bless this ship. Seeing in the course of our duty, we are set in the midst of many great challenges in boat building and other things. We must be faithful to the high trust placed in us, that high trust that comes from Almighty God. So let us pray for this blessing on this ship and all who serve her. May the Creator of all in heaven, on earth, bless this ship.
Bless this ship.
May the Redeemer of God's people bless the ship.
Bless this ship.
May the Spirit that broods over the waters bless this ship.
Bless this ship.
Let us pray for all involved in the preparation of the Marianne Market. We give you thanks, Lord, for those who built the ship, for those who designed and installed its equipment, and for all who use it. We pray especially for those who will captain this ship and the crew who will run it and maintain this vessel. May all that they undertake be in accordance with your will and supported by your blessing. O eternal God, Lord of land and sea, be pleased to receive into your almighty and most gracious protection this vessel, the Marianne Market, and all who will sail in her. Preserve and protect them from all dangers of the lake, that they may return safely to enjoy the blessings of land. Bless the fruits of their labors, that through them your will may be done and your name glorified through God our Creator. May we all give thanks for all that has been done to bring us to this point, that we might indeed bless this ship.
Bless this ship.
Okay, at this time, we are going to do the actual christening ceremony involving the champagne. It's going to be up in the port bow corner. It's going to be led by Marianne's grandkids. Buena. I have it listed, Katie, Leah, Leo, There's so many of them. Kylie, Maratina, Arthur, and I'm missing one. Ben. I got him. Anyways, at this time, and there's going to be just a short announcement right after we do the actual champagne ceremony. We'll give everybody a little bit of time to move. There is a lot of room on the dock off the port side, off the boat too, to be able to actually witness this.